Hello, good evening. My name is Estelle Fournier. I live on 115 Maple Street in Summit, and my last name is spelled Fournier.
And I'm Vivian Furman Rubin. I left it off of the presentation because it didn't look right wrapped around. Sorry, Julian. My last name is spelled Furman. I live at 10 Fernwood Road in Summit.
So thank you for inviting us to speak here tonight in front of City Council. We are here representing Summit Public Art. So Picasso once said, art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. Summit Public Art brings public art to Summit, and we've done that for 18 years, and I hope we've shown over the year that public arts help bring and create a vibrant and culturally diverse community. So we're here to talk about the Promenade Fountain and the possibility of creating a permanent art installation at the fountain, at the Promenade. We're here to gauge interest and to see if we all can work together to make it a reality.
Thank you, Estelle. So we titled this The Promenade Fountain, A Jewel in the Rough, because we really think the fountain is a jewel. Yes.
You need to speak into the
Oh,
microphone.
I'm sorry. I said we titled this presentation The Promenade Fountain, A Jewel in the Rough, because we think the fountain is a jewel. The first picture you see is the way the fountain currently looks in the winter, and it looks this way approximately 6 months out of the year, and as you can see, there's discoloration. The fountain has, the material has eroded with time, the medallions are missing. It's not a great-looking fountain as it currently exists. I'm going to turn, Estelle, would you move on to the next? The next is a picture of the fountain in 6 months in the summer and in the spring. There's an art piece by a woman named Kate Dodd, which is no longer there. It was a temporary art piece we installed. And in the summer and spring, of course, you have that wonderful sound and the fabulous white foam that comes off of the areas that jut out of the fountain wall. And we really think that the fountain has a lot going for it, and we just want to enhance it. I just want to add that this is a significant signature piece for our city. We don't want to lose it. We want to make it better than ever. It's very heavily trafficked, and of course, that's great. Okay, so the fountain, the art installation goals as Summit Public Art sees them, as we see them, it's to enhance the overall promenade presence. Right now, it's it's attended by many people, but we want even more people coming to see it and to be focused on the fountain and to walk by the shops as they go to it, and visual vibrancy. We see this enhancement as part of the overall promenade transformation that's taken place over the last few years. The fountain, we think, will become a beautiful and impactful focal point for the promenade. Very important, it will look great in all seasons. And last but not least, we respect what SDI did in bringing this fountain to this community. And so the structure will remain, including the outcroppings. So that original fountain isn't going, it's just being enhanced.
And so we strongly believe, with the past experience of bringing art and public art to Summit, that having a public art installation at the fountain would be a draw for the community. It would be a draw for the visitors, for the shopper, for the residents. And they will take pride in having a beautiful permanent art installation, because we're talking permanent art installation. It's also going to impact positively the local downtown if we can bring more people to the downtown. And we all know that people are looking for experience, and people already recognize Summit as having a vibrant community, a vibrant downtown, a diverse cultural scene. It's not only shopping, it's also eating out, but also vibrant cultural offerings. So we hope that that would add and enhance what we already can offer in Summit. The negative, we quickly talked about it. I mean, we can go back at this image. It's discolored, it lacks color, and it's especially obvious in the winter time. And so we feel like by using a public artwork, a permanent art installation, we can really enhance what is already existing. So
I just want to add one thing to what Estelle said. The notion of a total experience. You can go shopping at a strip mall, but coming to Summit, there's a lot going on. There are these charming shops, there are lovely cafes, and there is art all over town that you can experience. And this would be one of the go-to places. It would kind of be the jewel in the crown in the downtown area, as we see it. Okay, what would it be? So, of course, we want it to be beautiful, and we want it to have broad-based appeal. The Silver Sentinel tree has gotten a lot of approval beyond our wildest dreams, so we would hope to do the same thing. I'm so sorry. Did you hear me, or do I need to say what I said?
No,
Okay,
you're good. You're good.
And as Estelle said, it's a permanent art installation. We think ceramic mosaic tile is the way to go because it's resistant to stains and water, and so therefore it's essentially maintenance-free. And of course, it's been used for millennia in fountains and pools, etc. And again, this installation would be incorporated into the current structure. It would be on the wall over which the water flows, facing into the promenade. And the reason I'm making this perfectly clear is I confused some people, and they thought it was the back that faces the parking garage, and it is not. Okay?
So we want to show you a couple of examples what could be done at the promenade. We gathered, with the MTA and the New York Transit Authority has many wonderful mosaic murals all over New York City. So we've taken the example, and interestingly enough, while we did our research, we found out that the majority of these artists worked with a mosaic fabricator called Myoto Mosaic Art Studio. They're based in upstate New York. Stephen Myoto is a master craftsman, and he's a preferred fabricator for all those artists. So we have them right there, not far from us. So this is an example of 66th Street Lincoln Center Station by an artist, Nancy Shapiro, who is now deceased, but we thought it was very beautiful. There is, in this next slide, two different examples. On the left is a train station in Larchmont, New York by artist Joy Taylor. Floral, very beautiful, vibrant color. On the right is a public fountain in Austin, Texas by actually a New Jersey artist, Deborah Goletz. And last but not least, this is another example of a public fountain commissioned by the city of Walnut Creek, California, made by artist Jason Middlebrook. If you remember, Jason Middlebrook worked with Summit Public Art before. He was the one who made the mosaic mushroom, which was installed at the Village Green. So we have plenty of resources. We're really in the perfect place to bring beautiful public art to Summit in the tri-state area. Implementation. So we, Summit Public Art, would be willing to take the lead for the art selection, art management process, meaning we would be willing to put out a call for artists, select the artists, oversee the installation, and we estimate that it might take between 2 or 3 years maximum, but let's say 2 years from beginning to end of the process, because also there is an issue of funding. What needs to happen right now, and if everybody is on board, is we would like to create a task force, a group of volunteers, of people who could work together, member of the downtown community, the downtown business community, the city of Summit, Summit Public Art, and start working and brainstorming and get the project off the ground. And lastly, also, we would like to get assurance from the city of Summit that the fountain is structurally and mechanically sound. We don't want to invest all that time and money and find out that it needs to be destroyed in 2 years, taken apart. So the big...
I'm going to talk about funding. The estimated cost is between $75,000 and $100,000. We've spoken with a few artists, and that really is the cost, because this is very detailed work. All the tiles are hand cut. It takes a while. It's a lot of effort. Obviously, this is going to require a partnership between the City of Summit, SPA, and optimally Summit Downtown, Inc., because they really stand to benefit a lot from having this additional incentive for people to come and visit Summit. And, presumably there are more than 30, well, let me get to the money first. So cost-sharing assumptions. I'm sure you've all done renovation in your house. I know I have. So I went with the higher price because it never comes in at the lower price. So the maximum cost, in the assumption that I wrote up here, is $105,000, including lighting. As you know, you've seen some of the pieces have been lit at night, and public art is spectacular at night as well as during the day. So we'd want the fountain lit. We're assuming a city contribution of at least $35,000. So that would be a third. Then we're assuming an SDI contribution of at least $35,000. And if everybody's on board and we can get this going and Summit Public Art approves it and the city approves it and hopefully SDI approves it or another partner, SPA is committing that they could come up to, but not exceeding, $35,000. And that would be our promise to you. And that is a sizable chunk. But we can't do it unless we know that the other rest of the money is there, you know. Okay, so SPA assumptions. Well, some of this is going to be a little bit repetitive. Since we've been doing this for almost 18 years, we feel that we are the appropriate party to take the lead in identifying the art and managing the whole process of the art. City and optimally SDI, we want to know that you are committed to funding your share as specified on the prior page. And I think I heard this magical word, I wrote it down somewhere. David, you used it.
Oh, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah, you did.
It was,
it's a tax write-off because this is capital improvement. And I think that when you look at the fountain, and I looked it up online, you know, capital improvement does mean improving something that's kind of falling apart, and it's an investment. And I think that, you know, hopefully the city could find funding for that. And then SDI, again, there are a minimum of 30 business people, you know, shops in the city. You know, that's not a terribly burdensome thing to say between $800 and $1,000 each to kick it in. And as I said, if you guys can find the money, then we will find the money and have it ready for this. I have a bullet item here. Each partner is responsible for raising its agreed upon share of the art installation. We'll take care of our 35 grand, but you guys have to take care of your money. And the reason is we don't have the muscle or the manpower to go out and fundraise for your share and SDI or someone else's share. So we're happy to accompany you and do presentations, whatever, but we rely on you to come up with your funds. And last but not least, this is a very creative group, Summit Public Art. I must tell you that. And they're always coming up with really good ideas. So if we're going to do this, we don't want to wait 8 years and start the project 8 years from now. We're willing to take this on now, and that's why I wrote early stage activities start in the near future, optimally in 2020, with, you know, creating the task force, starting to work on a call for artists, starting to work on our individual funding pieces. And that is the end of it, except for the last page, which we've written and says the time is right. So with that, thank you for listening to us, and do you have any questions?
Does anyone in council have any questions?
Yes.
David?
Okay, so as you guys all know, I'm a big supporter of public art, and that's, and there's a reason for that, and I want to kind of explain that, because I think the word public should be the focus of it. And the reason that's important is because there are plenty of people who don't get a chance necessarily to go to museums. But the idea of public art is it's there in front of you. So you could be a little kid walking down the street and you get to get that art experience. You get to live it. And I think it does make a difference in this community, a significant difference in this community, because you walk around every year, there's different pieces of art that you get just for free, just because you live here or visit here. And that's a big deal. We shouldn't forget that. There's people who do not have the opportunity to go every single day to New York City and go to the Met or go to the MoMA and do all of this stuff. And yet they get to see new artists coming into town. And Summit Public Art didn't necessarily explain it for those of you who don't know and who are listening to this or what have you. You know, this is all privately funded. The word Summit Public Art sounds like, well, taxpayer money has been going towards funding art in this town. It hasn't. It's people writing checks and donations that get all this art that people get to enjoy. I think I understand that we live in budgetary constraints. But I think this is not a necessarily one of those projects that are there for a year or two. This is a long-term project. This will outlast all of us. You know, that fountain's been there for decades now. It's outlasted the people who designed it, probably. And similarly, this project would. And for the cost that's being proposed, it is not significant, I think, in the overall scheme of things, when one looks at it that way. You know, we buy trucks, we buy equipment, we do all of this stuff, and we find the money for that. This is not, and I do think downtown should pay, because you could go on the internet right now, and you could do public art, property values, and you will come up with plenty of articles that say that property values are enhanced because of public art around them. And it makes a difference to the downtown businesses, not just foot traffic, but the fact that realty property values itself. So I would say that we should look at this very seriously. I think SDI should look at it very seriously. If there's grant money, so much the better. We should explore whether our grant writer can look into whether or not there's opportunities for working. Yeah. But this is, you know, we talked about Summit Conservancy, and that is nonprofit working with the city. This is city group, kind of, quasi-city group, sure, combined with the city, combined with business, and so it's a private-public partnership. And those things we've done also in other things. We did it with having the kind of seating area that's outside of, you know, two places out there. And we did that as a public-private partnership because we wanted to enhance traffic into the downtown. So we can also do this. So I would be supportive of this. I know that people are looking right now, this is budget season. I know that we're looking very carefully at our numbers, and I get that we need to do that, obviously, but one should have a long-term perspective of how one uses capital expenditures, and it's not simply on looking at, okay, we need these things, but we need to also invest in those aesthetics that make it the reason we live in this community. There's intangible reasons why we live here, and they're not simply roads or trucks or mortar and brick. That's my comments.
And I wanted to add something about why we felt strongly about only funding part of it. Is, you know, what Summit Public Art does is bringing temporary public art to summits. And, you know, we cannot, we want to continue doing that, so we cannot put all the money we have toward a permanent art installation. That said, we've been planning and thinking that maybe there would be another opportunity that arises for permanent art installation. So we've been creating a fund and putting money aside every year from our all the private donation for a permanent art installation. And we think this might be the perfect project for Summit Public Art to take on.
And I just want to add one thing to what David said. Actually, I've had a number of people who are coming to Summit and buying in Summit, they're young, they're in their 30s, say, you know what, we got off the train, we saw some of the art, we thought, we like this place. Because it's something that people want now. Art has become an important part of everyone's lives. Public art is in all the big cities. If you're in Manhattan, you're seeing it all the time. And wow, you're moving to the suburbs, that's a scary thing. And all of a sudden you come to a city and it's sophisticated and it has public art and it has different things. It's quite an incentive and it does affect real estate prices, I think.
I agree. Councilwoman Little.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I think I'm also in support of this. I think it's a real centerpiece of the town and something we should look at investing in. I was just wondering if you have already approached SDI and what the response was and if there's support from SDI.
So SDI, one of the board members from SDI is on our board.
Mm-hmm.
We've shared the presentation with her. I offered to meet we've offered to meet with Nancy, but I think Nancy preferred for us to meet first with a board member who is on our committee. So we will do that, but they're aware of what's going on, and we'll have further conversation. Because clearly, for people who don't know, SDI was in the Summit Downtown invested in that fountain, funded the original fountain in the first place.
But while we're happy to approach SDI, I want to, restate, you carry much more weight than we do. So if you can join us, or join us in a subset, are you laughing because this is not the case, Nora?
No, I am in favor of this.
Okay, no, but I mean, we need the support.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
There are a lot of moving parts. Now, you know, that's the other reason we're hoping that we can limit this to this triumvirate, if you will. The city, Summit Public Art, and SDI, because it's simpler. Once you start going out and trying to appealing to multiple organizations for grants, you know, it makes it that much longer and that much harder to come to consensus about anything. And these are the real stakeholders. So,
Okay, any other questions from council?
thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
Question.
Yes.
If you do not get all the three major stakeholders, you guys are committed, the city's the second, and the third is SCI. If you don't get commitments from the other two, are you willing to pursue other sources of fundraising?
We don't have the manpower because we are so overwhelmed with what we are currently doing.
Right.
We're looking at hopefully installing a third mural right now, which is very costly. We then also possibly a fourth. There's a lot of new art coming in the fall, and every year we go through this again. There's some other initiatives that I can't speak to that are going to really wow you. And you know how it goes on committees, like,
I do. Yep.
we just don't have the manpower.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I
Thank
wish
you.
we could say yes, but
Okay, no, I just need to know.
it's
Thank
the
you.
reality.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the public? I guess not. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
ladies.
so
Thank
much.
you so much.
I think this project, just to wrap up, I want to thank both of you for all the work you've done on this project. I think it's a great idea. I think this is a long time coming, doing some work on this fountain. And this is really placemaking. This is creating, the Promenade Park already is an attraction, but doing something like this
Oh, yeah.
will really be will make it really, really special and
We think so.
really an attraction in downtown, and I
Yeah.
think it's well worth trying to find the funding to do this. So
Great.
thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we'll
We really
continue to
appreciate
work
your
with you on
consideration.
how to make this happen, hopefully.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And thank you for all the work you do all year long.
Yes.
Yes.
And to all of
And
Summit
you two-
Public Art,
you
everyone
two have
else.
been- May I also say, Vivian and Estelle have been the co-chairs of Summit Park Public Art for at least 4 years. Right. And are stepping down. They're no longer the co-chairs. You've done a phenomenal job. And so I'm happy to welcome Marie and Shelley Saney to be the new co-chairs. But you guys are not going anywhere, right?
No, we're here.
Although you're leaving in good hands with Marie
Oh,
and
we
Shelley.
are.
I'm now
And
the
Shallon,
treasurer
yep.
also.
And Debbie is the co-chair with Marie of Art Selection.
Ah,
So
great.
Okay,
Well, thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.